Hi, everybody. Maurice Belote here with California Deafblind Services, and I'm happy that you're all here with us today. Welcome to our Tuesday mini training. A couple of announcements to begin with. The training will be recorded and archived on our website. So if you go to our website and look down the left side menu, you'll see the weekly training spot, and all of these Tuesday training activities are recorded there. The training will be approximately 30 minutes. I will talk for about 20 minutes, and then Kayla Coburn will share some information for 10 minutes, and then we'll have 15 minutes for questions and discussion. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, you can either post it in the chat or click the raise hand in your Zoom toolbar. And we'll get to those questions at the end, the raised hands one. You can unmute yourself at the end if you want to join in the discussion. And a link to handouts will be posted in the chat, and I'll show you the one handout that I'm going to use today. So let's dive in because we don't have much time, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about this topic. This topic is officially social media, peer connections, and accessibility for students who are deafblind. And this morning when I was walking my dog, I was hoping to come up with a clever acronym, and I just really struggled. And then we had a staff meeting later today, and Brian Devereaux on our project thought of one in about 1 minute. SMART, social media access for responsible teens. So we're going to call this the SMART initiative. I think that's just brilliant. So thank you, Brian, for that. And this is what I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to be arguing. I worry that if tweens and teens, so students from whatever age, maybe 11 or 12 up through transition age, if they don't have a presence on social media platforms like Instagram or Snapchat, then they may appear in a way almost invisible to their classmates and peers at their school. And what I mean by that is that when social media works well, what it does is it provides information and images about a person's life that you may not have known about, and makes people more dynamic and well-rounded. And if you think about it, I mean, the example I was thinking of this morning, it's sort of like if you work in a cubicle and the person next to in the cubicle next to you, you sort of know them and you say good morning and you make small talk, but you don't really know that much about them. Well, say you happen one weekend to just be poking around Facebook and you find their Facebook page and you discover that in their free time, they do all these crazy adventures like skydiving or rock climbing or rodeo riding or whatever it is. Or maybe you discover that you share an interest with them. Maybe you see that they have a sailboat and like to go out on lakes on the weekends and sail, and you have a sailboat. And that's the kind of thing that you might not know if you hadn't looked. And for students that we serve, I'm thinking more specifically about the emerging communicators. The students that we serve, they may not be in a position to share that kind of information. So by having a presence on social media, their classmates can learn more about them outside of school, what they like to do at nights and on the weekends. I just realized I was talking very fast, so I'm going to slow down. I'm going to channel Fred Rogers here. This is a quote I really like from Eric Carter and his colleagues. Peer relationships play an important role in adolescent development and can contribute to a full and rewarding life. Indeed, it is through friendships that youth learn about peer norms, values, and accepted social behaviors. As they spend time together in and outside of the classroom, youth exchange important emotional, social, and practical supports that help them navigate the challenges of adolescence a bit more easily. And friendships can provide a rich and meaningful context for youth to develop self-determination, social, leisure, academic, and other valuable life skills. Most of all, friendships bring enjoyment to life. It is not surprising, therefore, that spending time with friends is among the first answers youth give when asked about what they look forward to most about school. Friendships really do matter. So today, I don't really want to debate the pros and cons of social media and networking in general, or against the pros and cons of specific social networking platforms. What I want to talk today, I don't want to debate the specifics, the pros and cons of specific platforms, whether Facebook is better for teenagers or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. And the ironic thing here is that I'm not actually personally very interested in social media. It's not an interest of mine, and I don't have a presence on social media myself, but I don't want to project my own opinions and interests and values on the children that I serve. So we're just going to be looking at social media as a whole, whether it's Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, any of these platforms that you see on the screen. Somebody who I really admire is Dr. Vivek Murthy, and he was the Surgeon General of the U.S. During Barack Obama's term as president. He really focused his time as Surgeon General talking a lot about loneliness, and he argues that the generation that we call Gen Z, or the iGen, or sometimes there's other names for it, and also to some extent millennials, especially younger millennials. He argues that that generation of Americans may be the loneliest generation in American history. And a lot of that has to do with social media. So there's a bit of a paradox here, because he argues that social media engagement is actually making younger people lonelier. So today I'm talking about using social media to show people that the students that we serve are dynamic, well-rounded people. And it can, and I mean, you can debate whether or not it's good to use it for social connections. And that's Dr. Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General. So we know that having good social skills is very important. It is probably one of the most important predictors for success after school. So beyond the school years, when young adults age out of the school system at 18 or 21 or 22, whatever age it is that they leave school finally, having good social skills is critically important for success. And we say this to people all the time. It's really important that students learn the social skills that sighted and hearing children and teens learn just through observing life through what we call incidental learning. So it's one of our challenges is to fit social skill instruction into the curriculum. And we also say all the time that that community connections are really important. It's all about who you know. And if you think about the way you got your first job or your first apartment or met your first boyfriend or girlfriend, a lot of it is through people you know, or people you know, people who know people you know. And so it's really important that that children and youth who are deafblind have those same levels of community connections, especially as they near graduation. And social skills are a part of the expanded core curriculum, or what we call the ECC. So if you are arguing in an IEP for inclusion of social skills instruction, remember that social skills are right there in the expanded core curriculum. So that, and the expanded core curriculum is a nationally recognized set of skills beyond what would be included in a typical academic program. Something else that's important to remember as students get a little bit older is issues of personal identity. When children are young, their personal identities are mainly assigned by factors outside of their control. So mostly assigned by adults. So if you think about it, your personal identity as a young child may be at school, may be linked to what classroom you're in, so what teacher you have. It may be linked by your school schedule. And outside of the home, it definitely is linked by perhaps the neighborhood where you live, or the kind of work that your parents do, or organizations or church that you belong to. So your identity is linked and assigned by these factors, mostly in control of adults. But as students get a little bit older, definitely by high school and transition age, individual identity is more tied to what we call membership. Who you know, who you're accepted by, and not just who you know, but who knows the people that you know. And these are not assigned by adults in the same way. So typically, the student is making choices about how they want to contribute to any groups or groups of people that they're surrounded by at school, and your identity begins to be a lot more in your own control, based on your own interests. And I want to point out that social norms are always evolving. I have a couple of photos here of dinner time. So when I was a young child, there was a television show called Leave It to Beaver, and this is a screenshot from Leave It to Beaver. And I chose this because my own mother, used to rant about this show and complain that it wasn't fair that June Cleaver set the standard for pearls and perfect hair and makeup for every weeknight dinner. She didn't seem to think that was fair. And then here is here going from the 1960s to the 2020s is dinner time as we know it more today. And I know this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but social norms are always changing. And we had a really interesting staff meeting discussion the other day, and Kathleen Mortier, our project director, was telling us about the rule, about the very specific rules that teenagers have about communicating on these platforms, words they use, the text language they use, but also rules about emojis and which emojis mean what, and to a teen versus what we might think they mean as an adult. So it's really important that we know we involve students of the same age who can teach us what the social norm is at any given time. Because as a person of my age, I don't know all those things. But it's very important that that we remember the fact that social connections happen most often when people share an interest. And in this quote, despite all of the technological advances, real relationships still emerge best when youth share the same places at the same time and doing the same activities. So Pat Amos wrote, people often respond with greater confidence and comfort when they are asked to include someone in a specific mutually enjoyed activity than when faced with a more nebulous request to befriend that person. Since friendship doesn't appear or grow in a vacuum, it is difficult to contemplate in the abstract. So when people are supported to pursue a common interest directly, friendships may develop tangentially out of that interest. So, having a presence on social media will help students identify those shared interests. It's important that when we're talking about a presence on social media, it's important that we remember that it is both expressive and receptive. So students can choose to post certain things about their lives on social media, but they can also, if using whatever sensory information is available to them, they can also receive information and learn about other people's lives. But it's most important that they are actively engaged in the process. And so Julie Meyer has pointed out that it's great what's great is if maybe a student can have a set of photographs that are taken over the course of a weekend and choose the 3 or 4 photographs that the child likes best to post on their Instagram account or whatever, so that they are making a choice about what they're sharing, if they're available, if they're able to make choices at that level. I want to remind you that the ICANN Connect program, which is a federal equipment distribution program operated by the Federal Communications, the FCC. The ICANN Connect program can, in many cases, provide the equipment that some teens need in order to have this sort of active engagement with social media. So it can be tablets or smartphones, and you can get more information about ICANN Connect at icannconnect.org. So there are a lot of ways to think about who might be doing the posting with your student or your son or your daughter. That some high schools have an organization, a student organization called the Key Club, which is a service organization, and in some cases can do things like this. There's Best Buddies, which is a national program. And then there's also a national program called Circle of Friends, the Path to Inclusion. And it also is a program that's being adopted more and more throughout California, that pairs students with disabilities with a group of non-disabled peers for participation in after school and extracurricular activities. So you may be thinking, okay, if it's going to be somebody at my child's school, or if it's going to be a brother or a sister or a cousin that's helping them do this, how can I make sure it's safe? And I guess the thing that I would say here is, and this is just something that I've adopted in life in general, is that it's really important to assume good intentions. Yes, there are creeps out there in the world. I get that. But I always have to remind myself that 99.99% of the people in the world only want good for other people and would never do anything to harm someone else. And so, given the opportunity to do something good, people almost always will. So I just think that if you have a group of peers at a high school or in a transition program who are willing to take this on as a fun project to support the student or the person who's deafblind, I think it's important to always remember this idea of assuming good intentions. So I want to save some time for Kayla to talk about accessibility in general, but what you will find on our website is a very brief, it's just a 2-page article that I wrote about this topic. It's in the journal of the California Transcribers and Educators of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And rather than just pull out my one article, we'll just post the whole issue. It's the fall 2018 issue. That's my bad writing with my PowerPoint pin up there, but you'll find my article on page 12 of the CTE BVI journal. So Kayla, that's it for me, and I am going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Maurice. Okay, so I am just going to talk about some ways that you can make your social media accessible that you just might not know about or be aware about. So I guess I'll say them first and then kind of show you. So something that is really easy to do to add is image description. If you follow us on Instagram for California Deafblind Services or on Facebook, we always write an image description underneath the pictures that we post. And these descriptions are always very simple. Like you don't need to get too abstract or too detailed of saying, a woman with a gray shirt and reddish hair is standing, looking, aimed at a 45-degree angle. Like, you don't need that much information. It's really just basic information on what's happening in the picture. And then what you can also do is there's an advanced setting, at least on Instagram, this could be on other things, called alt text, and I'll show you how to get to that. But that's another resource for people who are blind or visually impaired, and they can use that when getting to pictures. It will come up with texts for them. Closed captions is becoming something that is just showing up on every social media app, where if you're saying a story, like if you're holding the camera up and talking into the phone, there is another advanced setting where you can add closed captions to your story. So you don't have to, go there and type out all the words and do the whole duration of when it'll be there. Um, and then another thing is not having a page or a post be too busy. But all of these kind of go, I mean, I think you just really need to know your audience, with who, who who's following you, like what kind of, if you have like a public or a private account. I think all of that is just really important when you, like for our example, for California Deafblind Services, it would be pretty weird if we were not being accessible to the deaf blind world. Um, so that's just something to, really keep in mind. So I'm just going to show you quickly how to do the alt text. So I'm going to show you on my computer. So I had to go to Safari and switch this so so it looks like a phone. Well, don't go away from this page. Um, because this won't show up when you go on Instagram onto your computer. This won't automatically show up to post. Like you have to kind of change your computer settings. So they have a picture step-by-step tutorial on how to do it. And I have a whole page of resources that will also be included with this too. So, and this would be what it would be on your phone, where you click that plus sign and you click the picture that you want to upload. And for some reason, it shows it huge on a computer, but I guess it's pretending it's my phone. So you would go through, you get to your picture, you click next, maybe there it is. And then right here, you can write the caption. And then underneath is advanced setting, and that's where write alt text will be. And it even explains to you that this is for people with visual impairments. Um, and I guess if you don't do it yourself, it creates it, like it'll create one for you. I have never seen what that looks like, uh, but that is all there. And then you just post it. And so that's just a really simple way to make your posts more accessible to people who might be looking at it. And I think going off of what Maurice was saying of just like the socialization for people with disabilities on social media, I think it's also important to know like what they're interested in viewing. Because like I know some people who really prefer Instagram because they love the bigger pictures. They don't really care for what's written. And they just like to go through the pictures and like them, where sometimes Facebook is more of like a discussion. And so I've seen, some people prefer that. And TikTok is kind of getting huge in the disability realm. There are even a lot of people who are deafblind making TikToks and making them really informative, showing how to do closed captions on TikTok, showing, certain lessons. I usually try to repost them on our Instagram as well. Um, so yeah, so and the closed captions on Instagram, I should have said they're only on Instagram TV, but I think they're still in the process of just continuing to do it um, for all of the first like stories too, um, because so many people are requesting it, especially now with COVID and everyone at home. It's like everyone's flocking more to social media, and they're just on it all the time. So yeah, and yeah, I was taking notes too. So that is everything I have to say about social media. Um, and it's right about 4 o'clock. So do we have any questions about getting students involved in social media or concerns?